Excellent. Good morning, everybody. I apologize. I do not have a costume on today. Happy Halloween. Glad you could join us all. Uh, Today, we've got a really loaded topic, and honestly, we could probably do a half day on this, and we're going to try and squeeze in the highlights in the next half an hour. Um, I've got Sanjeev Bhatia from Clinic Accelerator with us, and a special guest this morning, Martin Primeau. I apologize, Martin, if I didn't pronounce your last name correctly there. Sorry.
It's good.
Martin's from Ottawa Physiotherapy and Sports Clinics. And again, really excited about this topic. I think it's extremely important this time of year to get the clinic on the right track. You're coming up to the busiest time of year, and there's some really key things that both Sanjeev and Martin can weigh in on and have experience on that they can share with us here. So I appreciate everybody joining us. We are recording this, so if you join late or possibly have to drop off, please just email our team at Juvonno and we can send out the recording of this session. Or if you want to share it with other staff members, that's great too. So we did send out a survey for the year-end information, and there was a couple of really surprising results from it. Obviously, the first one on do you communicate with your patients on their expiring benefits? And honestly, when we were preparing for this webinar, I think all three of us were fairly surprised at these results. 30%, over 30% not doing it at all, and 17% barely promote it. 50% almost of the clients not making maybe a bigger issue out of this than I'd expected. This is kind of a low-hanging fruit in my eyes as far as generating revenue for your clinics. Maybe I'd just pass this off to Sanjeev and Martin. I know that you both have a lot of experience in this area, and I know Martin specifically, you do remind your staff to at least discuss this with their patients so that they don't lose the benefits and that they also can take advantage of the treatments and filling up the schedules. Any quick comments on this item of the communicating expiring benefits, guys?
Yeah, so for me, communicating about the expiring benefits is as much a responsibility of like the clinic manager, the person running the clinic, to communicate that to their staff, and also to communicate that to the clients or prospective clients as well. So September is a big month for planning for me, where I try to start planting the seed to either email the staff or start including that in our monthly meetings, where I remind them that most insurance companies renew in the new year, to start planning ahead, and also to start like a marketing campaign on social media and through newsletter posts to start communicating that with patients as well.
Oh, excellent. Sanjeev, is that kind of the approach you typically train people? Is a kind of a whole clinic attack on this?
Yeah, I think the word attack is like pretty relevant here. But when seeing these results, like 75%, I think we'll see a lot of value from the webinar today, because what we like to do is like, yeah, attack. We have a very rigid like checklist of what we do for benefit season. So happy to share that with everybody today.
Yeah, excellent. And then the other survey result, looking at what the biggest concern is or challenges for this coming busy season, and then patients falling off, was clearly top of mind for everybody. Absolutely makes sense. Obviously, as your clinics are getting busier, it's probably much harder for patients to be booking appointments and following through with their care plans. Again, I think we've got some great insights on some of the things that Martin and Sanjeev teach on how to accommodate this, both maximizing revenue as well as patient care at the same time. So this will be another area that we'll get into in more detail. So for today's agenda, the first topic we're going to touch on is just how to align your team for this busy season coming up. Then some of the marketing and how to make sure that your patients know about their expiring benefits, can plan ahead for that. You know, obviously one of the things you never want to see patients dropping off because they're getting frustrated on booking. So making sure that they have lots of notice about, you know, the time and how busy the clinic's going to be coming up. And then I know, Martin, I was looking at some of the notes, and you've got some great ideas on how you've got a more of a team approach to this as well. And so we'll get into that in more detail. And then finally, the other aspect of this is planning for the new year. You know, this is a great opportunity to get your entire team aligned and on the same page for, you know, what your goals are for the 2025 to come. So we'll start off with the aligning the your team and making sure that everybody understands exactly what's coming as far as we get into this busy season and how you're going to prepare your team for that. Um, there's quite a bit of information. I'm going to leave this slide up on the screen, and as I said, we'll email everybody if you want to be able to review this. We'll touch on a few specific areas. I know Martin, when it comes to the want to know everyone's Q4 vacation schedules. This seems to be a big one, and being able to plan for that. So I think you gather this information well in advance so that you're more than ready for it.
Yeah, so I always try to be a quarter ahead. So for me, in September, October, that's where I'll send a reminder email to the staff to start, if they haven't started thinking about this, to start thinking about it so that we have a bit of a set agenda when we meet on a monthly basis. And I try to, like, I'm being transparent, like maybe we won't be able to accommodate everything because everybody needs to chip in a bit of some of that time for the clinic to stay open. But by at least knowing where everybody's head at, then we can plan ahead for this.
Yeah. And Sanjeev, I know you've mentioned this several times about adding in more hours, working hours to the clinic. You know, maybe getting the practitioners to come in on a Saturday or add an hour a day. How do you typically position that, or what does that conversation look like when you're preparing for this?
Yeah, it really goes with that first bullet point, like meeting with each clinician. And really what I'm trying to do is like wake them up. Okay. So what I mean by that is just sitting down with them, telling them, hey, the busiest time of year is coming up. So if they were slow in the summer or slow throughout the year somewhere, I'm like, this is the time to make it up. Are you taking vacation? Okay. Hey, would you move that vacation to January? Is it possible? Do you want to open up like a little bit earlier? Would you take someone like an hour earlier or stay an hour later? Can the front desk come talk to you about that to get an assessment in? Hey, do you want to work Saturdays for like 4 hours just for 8 weeks? And also finding their personal driving force in that conversation. Are you saving for a house? You just had a baby, you're paying down school debt. Like now's the time, right? To make that up. So it's really like a wake up, call for them, and offering like all those different types of avenues to increase hours because we can get them busy, but they have to be willing to accept it, and that requires a conversation.
Great, great. Oh, that's excellent. And I think that's the key here is, you know, like Martin said, planning ahead, having those conversations with your team now or September even to prepare for what's coming up in the next 3 months.
Yeah, I did it. Even my wife is a clinician, so like we're taking 2 weeks off in January. We calculated what the decrease in our income would be, and then she said, "Oh, I'm going to work Saturdays just for like 6 weeks, 4 hour shift," and like, okay, so it evens out our income, right? And like I share that story with like the clinicians, what we're doing at our house, right?
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely. And then there's, some of these other items here that I thought were really interesting, making sure that you've got backup in place. So Martin, you have somebody that you have on standby to float for backing up your front desk?
Yeah, so that's the best case scenario. So we try to have like a few, like especially for the front desk, we try to have a few people that float amongst clinics that are hired just to replace sick days or vacation time or things like that, or for students if they have exams during the exam period. So that's the best case scenario, but best case scenarios don't always work. So the other thing that we do too is when it comes more to the support staff. So we have a few PTAs in some of our clinics where we will train them on like the basic stuff that we need to do at the front desk, like how to properly answer the phone, how to properly talk to patients, so that if we don't have someone at the front desk, they're able to take over that. That too, ideally, like sometimes when the schedule is busy and they don't have time for that, then the one protocol that we put in place that I find really helped us is using other resources in other clinic to help us. So, for example, if a last minute call from the front desk to say that they're sick, then we're able to transfer the calls over to another clinic that might be fully staffed to help offload some of that work. And then when it comes to the payments, the patients can book online. And for scheduling, because we train our staff on pre-booking the patients a few weeks in advance, then we don't need to worry and spend as much time booking the patient at the front desk on the day that the front desk is sick.
Oh, excellent. So I'm just going to move on here. You know, again, I think the key there to me is that you're, you know, having these good, deep conversations with all the key members of your team prior to hitting October, so everybody's ready and you've got plans in place. One of the things that obviously in our software that we've built in, we recognized years ago that the expiring insurance was, you know, a great potential both for the clinic and your patients, you know, so that they wouldn't lose that opportunity. And so we built into our JCOM platform, there is a pre-built templated email campaign and text campaign specifically that finds patients with insurance plans that are coming up for renewal, and it just fires them off a very polite email and just lets them know, you know, that it's coming up and that they can click the button in the email to do that. One of our staff was communicating with a client, and they mentioned that they had this incredible result last year, you know, 228% increase in appointments just from sending out this particular email. Now, obviously, you know, we hope everybody's using Juvonno, but if you're not using Juvonno, this is still an area where, you know, gathering that data from your EMR and being able to action it with some type of mass email to your clients, just letting them know, you know, not only are the insurance benefits coming up for renewal and they may lose them, but also, you know, to Martin and Sanjeev's point, it is coming up to the busiest time of year, maybe giving them some, you know, heads up to, okay, you know, pre-book your appointments. Don't wait for, you know, 2-3 days in advance, because it's going to be a busy time and it'll be difficult to book those appointments. So again, you know, as far as the plans to deal with the insurance specifically, you know, sending out an email sequence. And again, this can be, you know, and I would recommend get this automated. You don't need additional tasks for your staff to do this time of year. So setting this up well in advance and just letting it run is a key way to take advantage of that. But I was also noticing, you know, and I think, Martin, this is something you retrain your clinicians and family and friends on the referral process, and then you do these reactivation calls. So do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so that's one thing that we started implementing a few years back. And like instead of delegating, like every clinician has a list of patient drop-offs that happen in the last week or the last 2 weeks. So that's an ongoing list. And we found that instead of delegating those phone calls to the front desk to be making or sending an email that's a bit more impersonal, we've had that work spread out to the clinicians. So the clinicians might come in once a week, an hour early, or stay like an hour late, and go down the list of the patients that dropped off in the last week or two. And that's something that we do the whole year. So not just for year end. And by doing that, it helps to build like the rapport between the clinician and the patient. It helps the clinician answer more technical questions that the patient might have, or like some of the reasons why they dropped off. And we found that the conversion rate when the clinician actually makes those phone calls versus someone else on their behalf is much higher.
Oh, excellent. You know, on that note, I just wanted to put it out to everybody that's on this chat, on this webinar right now. If you have any questions as we're going through this, or any comments, by all means throw it into the chat, and we're monitoring that as well. If you'd like to ask any questions while we're going through this. The other thing I was just going to ask, is this something that, and you can throw it in the chat right now, is this something that you do in your own clinics currently? And I'm just looking for a yes or no if this is an activity that you're currently meeting with all of your clinicians and getting them to do these follow-up calls. It seems like a great plan. Sanjeev, is that, I believe that's along the lines of something that you typically train clinics on doing, and creating that verbiage that they can use when they're talking to their patients.
Yeah, definitely. And this gets to what we started the call on, was like, this is the protocol, the marketing protocol when benefit season starts. So for me, marketing is a combination of being consistent and then iterating your content or the performance. But one of the ones that I think is the best marketing hack is the reactivation calls. These are previous patients that were discharged. They've already been into your clinic. They've already been interacting with your staff. So it's easier to get them in than to get someone new in. So we do about an hour a week minimum for every week of the year. And think of it. Okay, if you get an admin person to do it, it might cost you 20, 22, at the high end, $25 an hour. But we're booking for every hour, we book about 2 assessments an hour. So you're paying $25 on the high end to make $1,000 in revenue. 2 patients at $500 in revenue. Now, when benefit season starts, we ramp it up. We might do 2 hours. And I agree with Martin, when you have the clinician call, they can talk deeper to a patient about what's going on with them. But that's not always easy to do. Clinicians don't like to call, they're very busy. So I don't mind an admin calling. And just to share my script, when we call, we're saying, hey, this is Sanjeev, I'm calling on behalf of Martin. Martin was thinking about you. He wants to know from 1 to 10. 10 is like emergency room pain. How much pain is that shoulder in? Then we'll ask, hey, what type of pain is it? When is the pain worse, in the morning, throughout the day, or overnight? And what are you doing for it? You taking Advil, hot and cold packs, or nothing? And based on what they say, then we say, hey, look, I think based on what you said, Martin's going to want to meet with you. Do you want to come in your old time at Monday at 1 or Tuesday at 1? That's the script. So it's not like, hey, how you doing? That's the easy way for nobody to book. But yeah, so at some points we even do 4 to 6 hours, because we have 5,000 plus emails, which means we have 5,000 plus phone numbers. We'll never get through it. So even if you do 4 to 5 hours, I mean, that's a hack. You don't need to do Google ads or anything. You just pick up the phone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially during benefit season, it's like the easiest thing,
Yeah.
right? If someone called me right now, I didn't use my benefits all year. Literally, if a clinic called me, I would probably book. And I'd probably like ask my wife if she wanted to book too.
Well, exactly. Like to me, as a non-practitioner or somebody that hasn't actually worked in a clinic myself, this to me seems like a really easy process. And again, to use the term low-hanging fruit, I think this could just drive an incredible amount of revenue. Now, somebody was asking about report in Juvonno. So inside Juvonno, the first thing I would recommend is actually using the JCOM automation on this one. But you can still run a report if you want to grab this data using our the custom report builder for patient insights. And if you want later on, just fire me a quick email, and I'd be more than happy to kind of send you instructions on how to do that with step by step. So just a few other items for the, and again, since I've been in this business about 25 years, when I first started in this, even the term marketing was kind of frowned upon. I think that mentality's changed quite a bit, and it's far more relevant, and people are looking to drive more business to their clinics and book more appointments. I was meeting yesterday with a clinic owner here in Winnipeg, and I was discussing this webinar, and he said, oh, got to be careful with the whole marketing. And it's like, well, you know what? In this case, I think you're just trying to help your patients, utilize the benefits that they've paid for. And frankly, it's also helping the clinic at the same time. So it's a win-win. On the screen here, just a few more ideas on ways to communicate the information. I know that the massage therapy clinic I go to, they actually do have a poster. They put it right on the front desk. So as you walk in, you see it immediately, and it just reminds you to do that, to book an appointment. They actually have a QR code that you can generate in Juvonno as well. So the patient can book their appointments very, very quickly. Any other comments, Martin or Sanjeev, on these items here? The last one about the ask local businesses to post in their staff rooms, things like that. Have you utilized that, or has it been beneficial, I guess, for businesses, in the same building as the clinic, I guess, that type of thing?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like employer working with the local businesses, the hotels, the restaurants, the coffee shops, the car dealerships, the mechanics, like it's the ultimate marketing hack, because a lot of clinics don't do it, but each of those companies have a health and wellness program for their employees, and it's usually terrible. Like one HR person looking after 30 or 50 people. So I come in there, especially during benefit season, we'll do lunch and learns. We'll talk to the owner. They can send an email out. We'll be in their internal newsletter. And again, these are just like creating these reminders in people's minds that their benefits are expiring. And then they don't even go on Google. They just know to come to us.
Right.
Okay. So, and these, we were doing work with like, I think it was Cactus Club, like a cactus club.
Yeah.
Had like over 100 people working there. It was like an army, cooks and cleaners. The only thing I do is stay away from like healthcare. So no
Right.
fitness, no personal trainers, dentists, doctors. I'm actually providing a service to these companies, but helping them with their health and wellness program.
Well, and that makes so much sense to me, because everything that you mentioned is not hugely huge. It's not a huge cost for the clinics to actually do these activities. It's really time and just some effort to go out and set up the meetings, or just make the introductions, put up the poster, whatever the case might be.
We call it Gordon Ramsay stuff. This is Gordon Ramsay, what Gordon Ramsay would do, right? That's what he would do. So most of our marketing tactics, like 80-90%, are Gordon Ramsay inspired. And then there's some paid ads.
Right. Okay, so I got to move on here to planning for your new year. So obviously you're gonna be head down for the next I guess two months now. I don't know about everybody else, but the weather in Winnipeg's been so nice. It doesn't feel like Christmas is coming that quickly. But anyway, in the next 2 months, you're going to be very, very busy, but it is a good opportunity to plan, particularly with your leadership group, on the coming year, setting your goals, figuring out, what kind of new projects you want to take on in the new year, and getting everybody aligned on that. I know, Martin, I think quarterly, monthly sprints, that's part of your planning, getting all of your team ready.
Yeah, so typically around November, December is where I'll reflect on the yearly goal we set for the clinics. And the yearly goal is typically going to be like a sales goal at this point, and then I just work backwards from there. So I'll go back into Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 to see which quarters perform better, which one didn't do as well, and why that is. And then from there, I'm still trying to understand how to reproduce the quarters that did well and what to learn from the quarters that didn't do as well. So using like the monthly scoreboards, or like the clinician scoreboard, is one of the tools with the metrics that we'll use for that. And it's not just about the numbers too, because throughout the year we spend a lot of time training our clinicians, training our front desk on like phone scripts, or like tweaking a few things, or focusing on soft skills, mentorship, in services. So is that education that we're offering reflecting the needs of that quarter, or like is there things that we could have improved on, and then basically figuring out how we can do better with those quarters.
Oh, excellent. Just for everybody listening, as I said, we're a little short on time today, and this is a huge topic. There are lots of different reports that even Martin was just mentioning that we can help you. If you have any questions, after the fact, by all means, send us an email and we can send you out, which reports we recommend to grab the information, how to utilize those scoreboards, things like that as well. Sanjeev, anything else that to add to planning for the new year? Are you seeing any consistent goals for clinics that you work with in 2025?
I think the biggest thing is that we don't want to hit January and be figuring out what to do. So in early December, we'll sit down and instead of quarterly goals, we do what's called monthly sprints. It's like the analogy I like to use is like what room in the house are we renovating in January? So we're doing the basement. Okay, so we got 4 weeks to do the basement instead of 12, like because we value speed of implementation. Speed is our friend. And we kind of borrow from Facebook. Done is better than perfect. How much can we get done on that room in 4 weeks? Okay. So we don't want to be picking the room when we go to January. We pick it in December. And in terms of marketing in this case, whereas we were doing benefits and messaging, it quickly turns into resolution messaging in January. But that's already planned out. Like you saw that list we had for the benefit expiring. We have a list for resolutions. So to me, there's like 3 seasons in marketing for the clinic. There's a benefit season, there's resolution season, and then there's spring to summer season. So we have a list of like what goes out for each of those seasons. And yeah, I was a personal trainer before I was a physio, and people want to lose weight in the new year. It's not a big leap to start messaging about, is this the year you're going to get that shoulder looked at? Is this the year you're going to like be able to pick up your grandkids? Right? So we do that kind of messaging. We also don't have our holiday party in December because again, it's like everybody's so busy, and so we do a holiday party in January. Okay. And another little hack for everybody out there, do not send like a newsletter out in January. People will unsubscribe. Like January is the unsubscribe month, we call it. So we try not to send any like mass emails out because people are purging, right? I don't need to receive this anymore. They want to like, they're in this cleanup mode. And that's an easy way for people to unsubscribe from your list. So
Yeah, I thought that was great wisdom. I think that's fantastic. I never considered that, but I'm sure like you, I do the same thing right after Christmas. I spend time, I go through everything, I clean up my emails and everything else. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Martin, do you have your staff party in January as well? I can't recall.
We'll do we'll do two parties. So we'll do like a small get together, oftentimes at end of November into December, just to celebrate, appreciate the year, and just like reminisce on like the good moments that we had. And then typically, like Sanjeev mentioned, like our bigger like staff party with all the clinics is going to be in January, February.
Great. Oh, excellent. Well,
and maybe I'll share the doctor one too, Terry. Like
yes. Oh yeah.
people give the doctors like a gift in December, but everybody's giving them a gift in December if they were referring to you. We don't. We give them the gift in January because we're the only ones giving them a gift at that time. So we stand out. So that's another little marketing hack.
That's a great idea. Yeah, absolutely. So as we're getting close to time here, so just quickly, which key takeaway will you begin focusing on after today's webinar? There's quite a few different items, and as I said, we'll send out the slides to everybody so you can review. But if you have any questions on any of this, by all means, I think our team has put the support email in there, and more than happy to jump on a call with anybody to go over both the reporting, messaging if you need help with sending that out for the insurance reminders, and as well as any of the other ideas that have come up during this discussion. I really appreciate having Sanjeev and Martin, who have a lot more experience in the clinics and working with the clinic management teams than I do. So I really appreciate your time today. We'll also be, I believe we'll also be posting this into our Facebook group as well. So you can always grab the information from there too. I think that's, I think I've covered off everything, and we've kept it within about 2 minutes. So overall, I really appreciate everybody's time today, and thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season, and it's as busy as we anticipate it will be. Again, thank you, Martin and Sanjeev. Really appreciate it. Have a great day, everybody, and look forward to hearing from you. We'll talk soon.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
Terry.
Take
Bye now.
care. Thanks, Terry.